Welcome back, everybody. My name is All Fun and Games. I stream every day on Twitch TV, and I also make fun little videos here on YouTube. We're back again with round 2 of this video, where I decided to kind of re-upload it with a little bit of a change. Now, originally when I posted about this video, I posted a video explaining how it's okay to pick flowers. Now, I think the idea was that I was basically saying, it's okay to go ahead and pick all the flowers. Go ahead and do whatever you want. But in my video, I also justified that it's good to leave flowers and not obviously pick up all the flowers in the entire world. Basically, what I'm trying to say here is that it is okay to pick a few flowers here and there, but obviously don't go crazy with it because butterflies are a good source of other things. But just for the justification and explaining why it's good and also bad, let's take it a step at a time and explain why it could be good and also could be bad to actually pick flowers. So kind of taking both sides of the story here. I'll also talk about alternative routes to doing certain things. So, generally speaking, inside of a world, when you first load in and you notice a few flowers, you're going to also notice butterflies. And of course, if you haven't played DST before, or if you have, you would know that butterflies are a great source of healing. They're actually the best way of healing for any beginners out there and just in general as well. They make some really good recipes, and nonetheless, they're really easy to kill. Basically, going up to them and hitting them will obviously generate you quite a few of them if you're especially around a ton of flowers. So this is one reason why a lot of people say, please don't pick the flowers, we really need them. However, if you are in your own world, or if you are in a world that you don't believe you're going to be playing very long, you might have the idea that you just basically want to get to winter and then try to survive, and so on and so on and so on. In that case, what I would probably suggest doing is, if you're planning on picking flowers, try not to pick them around your base. Meanwhile, what I'm referring to that is that if you are going to be living near the little respawn area here, you might want to just go around, and if you are picking flowers in another area, not worry about it too much. In my opinion, this is obviously in my opinion, let me just state that real quick. When you are going around in the world, there are a ton of flowers in the world of Don't Starve Together. And yes, they do regrow. They regrow every spring. So, of course, yes, you have to wait a while for it to regrow in spring, but nonetheless, they will eventually regrow. So please don't worry too much about that. That doesn't mean going around and picking all the flowers is a good idea, but you can pick a few flowers and not have to worry about it. Okay, so why would you want to pick flowers in the first place? Why am I even mentioning it? Well, flowers are a good way of getting rot, and rot is actually really essential. Now, they're not the best way of getting rot. Of course, you can get rot from many other ways, like light bulbs, or you can get rot from just food in general that just decides to eventually spoil. But as time goes on, if you are new to the game, or if you just are not wanting to go into the caves to get a ton of rot, you can obviously just, like I said, collect a few petals here and there and eventually get a ton of rot that way. Now, once again, mentioning that doing that around your base or where you plan on basing is probably not the best idea, but of course, if you are out here in the wilderness and you do find a few flowers, don't hesitate to pick a few. Now, of course, another way to increase your sanity, which obviously there's many different ways to do so, is picking flowers. So that being said, if you are new to the game and you are wandering around and your sanity is low, feel free to pick a few flowers. It's not going to hurt anybody. And once again, this is my personal opinion. Yes, you can go ahead and you can find green caps, you can get cactus, you can get multiple different foods that or recipes that increase your sanity and or sleeping in a tent, but we're not talking about that right now. Basically, what I want to talk about is why it's okay and why it's not okay to pick flowers, because I feel like a lot of people either feel very strongly about this, and every time you pick a flower, they fall over in their chair. And honestly, it's not that big of a deal to to pick a few flowers here and there. So don't let somebody make you feel super horrible for doing it. Now, that being said, if you are playing in a public server or you're playing in a server with friends and they tell you don't pick the flowers, I would highly suggest listening to them, because obviously at that point in time, they've already established a base or an area and you don't want to go upsetting them. But I'm saying this lightly. If you're playing by yourself, there is tons and tons of flowers inside the world. You can actually literally do a command that'll tell you how many flowers in the world you have. So let's just say you do a find entity and you type in flowers. You can actually get a message that responds with 150 or whatever the amount of flowers might be. So hypothetically, if you pick like 10 or 15, it's not going to make a difference. So that's why picking flowers should really be only like an emergency situation, unless you're doing it early game. So for me, I sometimes will just wander around, and if my sanity is a little bit low, here I'll pick a flower here and there, but only in areas, like I said, that I'm not really looking to base. Now, That being said, they are not super plentiful. So if you decide to make a world and you are just going around and picking all the flowers, that's definitely not a good idea to do that. But picking a few here and there is not a big deal at all. Now, just keep in mind that it is good to keep some of the petals on you. So like I said, eventually they will turn to rot. But I just wanted to kind of remake this video because I think when I first produced it, people kind of looked over the fact that all I was basically stating is that it is okay to pick flowers because they do regenerate. So just keep that in mind. Flowers do regenerate, meaning that these flowers that I'm picking right now, come springtime, some of them will regenerate and only in the area that they've been picked. However, the ones that I go ahead and plant, if I plant them and pick them, those will not regenerate. So just to keep that in mind. Okay, so there it is. If you are looking to gain a little bit of sanity here and there, it's not a big problem to pick a few flowers, but keep in mind there are better routes of gaining sanity. Once again, I did mention that in my first video, but I think a few people looked over that because, like I said, people feel very strongly about this, and sometimes joining somebody else's world that they have all their flowers nice and aligned, obviously you don't want to be going around picking all those flowers. So, anyways, that being said, if you decide to pick a few flowers, just be cautious a little bit. Make sure that you maybe ask a few people before you do that, or if it's in your own world, just have fun and play the game however you want to play it. Don't necessarily worry too much. It's not the end of the world if you pick a few of them, even if you pick half of them, because there's plenty of flowers to go around. But I probably would suggest that if you do decide to do it, just be a smidge cautious to notice, that if you are going to be doing it close to your base, you might receive a little bit less butterflies. Now, one last and final thing to notice, that, like I said before, if you're picking flowers in an area and you have to travel there for any reason, make sure that you understand that butterflies will not spawn there. So if you're playing basically the beginning of DST and you're just about to learn it, well, you might not be able to get any butterflies there because, of course, all the flowers are gone. So keep in mind, that's why I say if you find a clump of butterflies, maybe not picking all the flowers in that vicinity is a good idea because, of course, you're most likely going to run out of it. So just keep that in mind for future reference. All right, and boom. Hit by Charlie. Charlie's like, don't pick flowers. But yeah. Anyways, that is it for me. I hope you have a good one, and thanks again. And like I said, leave a like if you've enjoyed this video. Make sure you comment down below if you have anything else to add to this. But all in all, I just like to be that person that says, play the game that how you like to play it. So if you enjoy picking flowers, go do it. If you don't enjoy picking flowers, don't do it. But in the end, it's entirely up to you, just as long as if you are in a world with other people, you respect their surroundings. And if they are asking you when you join in not to pluck them, well, that's their wishes. But if it's your server and doesn't really matter to you, just know that there's pros and cons for actually doing so. I just kind of wanted to bury the hatchet there. But anyways, nonetheless, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.